were born and raised in Michigan. You moved to Michigan, I think, a year in New Jersey or something like that.
Year in New Jersey.
Born and raised in Michigan. And we're, at least me, I was sharing this at the table with a couple of people upstairs while we were eating dinner, but I was not the person you would have guessed or expected would be living in South Africa doing what we're doing. Maybe you would have been. You're a pastor's daughter and had to be on mission trips and things. Not me. I never had left the country ever. I had to get a passport to move to go to South Africa. So Mike was sharing a little bit about my family. I'm the oldest of 14 kids. My mom had 6,
Poor mother.
and then we adopted 8 more. All my adopted siblings are black kids. And so I was always used to being the white minority, like there was more black kids than white. And so I'm very comfortable around these guys. I'm all intimidated. But man, I was actually gonna be a doctor. You thought you were marrying a doctor. Bait and switch.
Careful when you get engaged.
So about 3 months after we were engaged, I called her and said, I'm not gonna finish pre-med, I'm gonna come home and I'm not gonna be a doctor. So, funny enough though, you kinda knew that before I did. She kinda sensed, yeah, it's true, it really is true. So she was not surprised. Everyone else in my life was surprised.
Your mom.
My mom was not real thrilled to have paid for 3 years of pre-med. And then, you know what, I'm not gonna finish, I'm gonna enroll in ministry school instead. Which I did. And then we worked here in Pontiac. Her dad has a ministry with inner city kids in Pontiac that does really long-term mentoring and relationships. So we were there for 10 years, kind of learning the ropes and preparing for, I kind of figured I would be there forever.
You did, yeah.
But then after about 10 years there, just knew that it was kind of the same feeling I had when I was pregnant, because I was going to be a pediatrician. And how I explain it is, I knew I was headed in the right direction, but it was like I needed to change lanes. So when you put the blinker on and you're kind of checking, okay, like hey, I'm about to get over, like that's the feeling that I had, like spiritually speaking. So you know the blinker sound in the car? I heard that even cars that don't have it or need it, they actually put the sound in because people like it. So there's not a blinker anymore. It's just all digital, but people like the sound, so they put the sound in. And so that's the sound I was hearing in my head. So I was heading in the right direction towards kids, but it was not medicine, it was ministry. But then after 10 years there, I was hearing the same sound again, like, okay, you're heading in the right direction, but check your blind spot, you're about to change lanes to a different location. And at the time, I didn't know what was
No, he had no idea. So he resigned the job, and so your dad had, like in construction and went to work in the family business. And so me, I'm the wife, and that's great, like we're gonna do something else, but what's happening, right? Where are we going? Where are we headed? And so he didn't know. He's like, I have no idea. So we kind of waited, and about 3 months later, Dan came to me with the thing, but prior to that, we had this conversation. We had a small kitchen table, and Dan.
You always have to bring this up.
I do, thank you. And he was sitting on this side, and I was sitting on this side, and like we were having a moment, and I said, okay, so are we gonna leave the state? He's like, no, we're not gonna do that. Like, my family's here, your family's here, like, we love Michigan, we'll probably stay in Michigan. I said, okay. So then, that sounded really good to me. And then he said, we probably, no, I asked him actually, I said, would we leave the state? Would we move to another state? And so when Dan starts to think about something, he does this thing with his ear. He has actually a callus on his ear, so he does a lot of it. And he rubs it really hard like this, and he lean back and rub his ear. And I'm just like waiting for the answer. And he's like, probably not. I don't think so. No, probably not. I said, okay. I said, so we would never leave the country. No. We would, like, literally, we will never leave the country. God would have to hit me over the head. And so I'm like, we're good. Okay, so.
Yeah, so then I
3
come
months
later and say, okay, we're moving to South Africa.
He sits me down across the same table, very excited. I got it.
Well, here's the thing though. I was kind of excited because even though I was like last on the list of people that you would think would move to South Africa, when we were dating, she started it by going on a mission trip to South Africa. She was 19. And she comes home from this mission trip and says to me, a pre-med, I could just see myself moving to South Africa and helping those kids. There's so many kids there. And now, pre-med, you know how that goes. Like, my next 10 years of my life is planned out.
Yeah, I guess.
So like, okay, like, squelch that dream. That ain't happening. You're dating the wrong guy. Like, there's a plan in place, so, that, that's over. Dead end conversation. So then, 12 years later or whatever, I come back to her and say, you want to go to South Africa?
And so you did, and I'm like, well, now we have a family. Like, that was, anyway, so,
When you're 19, it's different than when you're.
very different. So I remember we were sitting across the table, he said, okay, we're going to South Africa. That's literally all he said. No anything, he's just like, I got it. I said, okay, great, tell me. He goes, we're moving to South Africa. Okay, and I said, I'm gonna need 30 days. I can't talk about it, I don't wanna have a conversation. Just give me 30 days. 30 days, I'll come back to you. And at the time, we had 3 kids. And I said, so 30 days later, I came back to him and I said, let's talk about Africa.
We started telling friends and family this, and we're kind of gearing up emotionally and excited, like God is really calling us to this. Friends and family, not excited. My mom, who you mentioned, had a women's prayer group that she had organized for the sole purpose of praying that we would not go to Africa.
True story.
Yeah. And of course, your parents were not happy because we had left after working with them for 10 years, and so this, as far as they were concerned, this was not God. This was some bad pizza or something like that. And so, we needed to sort of go back to the drawing board. No one was behind it, literally no one. And so it got to the point where we thought, well, maybe we did miss it. Maybe this is, we need to rethink this. So there was one guy left that I needed to have a meeting with, who was our pastor at the time. And so I remember leaving to go have breakfast with this guy, and it was like, if he says no, he's not behind it, then we need to really rethink. So came home from the breakfast, and she's waiting at the door, and like, what did he say? And when I had shared with him what we wanted to do, he was pumped. He just said, let's go. How do we do this? How can I help you? And so we knew, in spite of the criticism and the lack of support and all that we were going to do this, that God was in it. We had sold those for, we literally sold our house and our cars and everything just to buy one-way tickets. Had another baby in the meantime.
Yeah.
So Cece was 6 weeks old. Fortunately, we didn't even have to buy a ticket for her. We had 16 suitcases, but one of them was full of diapers, I think another one full of formula. And we got out, you go to South Africa, and in those days, the airport, you landed, and they just parked the plane. And they roll up the rusty iron steps to the side of the plane, and you just walk out onto the tarmac. And so there we were. You're holding the baby, we got toddlers and these suitcases on the runway, and the sun's setting, and we just gotta figure it out now. So I'm like, okay, let's go to a hotel.
Like, we didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
So like, he's telling like, but it was scary, okay? Like, we just literally showed up. Just so we know, like, okay, here we are, it's you and me, I guess we're doing this, yeah. A little bit crazy.
It was. So, we got the kids in school, found an apartment, bought an old minivan out of the newspaper, and I just started to go. So Durban, one of the reasons that we went to Durban, South Africa, is it's the epicenter of the AIDS epidemic. So that whole region, from Swaziland down through Durban and right in there, is the statistical center of the universe when it comes to HIV. And as a result, there are so many orphans there in South Africa. And so when we felt that we wanted to get involved with that issue, my reaction was, let's get to the front line. Let's just go where the trenches are. Let's get where it's the worst. And so we wound up in Durban, South Africa. It's also a really high crime country because of the disparity of wealth left over from apartheid days. If you've heard of Nelson Mandela and apartheid, that even though institutionally and legislatively that's gone, culturally and economically it's as bad, maybe worse than ever. And so crime is really high. But I would drive around the city, 4 million people, and I just got in the car and would drive to the worst areas I could find till the road ended, and I got out of my car and just went, okay, where's the kids that need help? The very first family that I found, there was 5 kids, and the mom couldn't afford to send all of them to school. And so I talked to the one girl, went home, met the mom, asked, if it would be a help if I paid the school fees, and she said yes. And so ended up paying the school fees, going back the next day, picking the girl up, going and buying a uniform, taking her to the school, enrolling her, and getting her in class. So from that very first household is one of our people here. What is her name? Yeah. So Wendy, you didn't trust me at first. It's not typical, especially in South Africa, for a white guy to even be anywhere around, let alone like in your house. But you got home from school, because you were in school, Pumla was not.
Yes.
And mom says, hey, this white guy came here today. So what was that like?
When I came back from school that day, and then my mom, she told me, there's a white person who came, who's gonna help us with school fees, who's gonna help my sister who couldn't go to school because of school fees. And then I asked my mom, are you sure it was a white person? She was like, yes, he's white, he's white. I was like, okay, but at first I didn't trust her. Like I was like, maybe no, I was like, no, maybe no. And then she was like, no, you know what? He's gonna come back and take his sister to school, and then he said he's gonna pay school fees, and then he's gonna buy a school uniform for his sister. I was like, okay, but I'm gonna be in school, so I don't know if I'm gonna meet this person. Because back at home where we live, especially the place where we live, white people have like rumors about white people. Like they're not nice. So I was like,
What do they say white people do?
they wanna kidnap us, they wanna take us. So yeah.
What I do? So I kidnapped you and brought you to America.
Yes.
So got all you guys in school, paid school fees, got everybody all the way through school,
Yeah.
including you. I remember when she was a senior, how old are you now?
I'm telling you.
29. Wow. When she was a senior in high school, she invited me to come as the parent for her parent meeting. And I have a picture of us on that day. It was, I wouldn't be any more honored if I was invited to the White House to come and be her father and be at that senior meeting. It was amazing. So now, tell what you do, because we have 55 full-time staff, of which Wendy is one, but you have a responsibility that's tied back to that.
So now I work in a health fund department, which I'm in charge of school fees, school uniform, and everything that has to do with school.
So every kid that we pay school fees for now goes through Wendy. And it's amazing how you'll hear some of these stories, but how all of their stories now inform what they're able to do for the next generation coming up. So what was done for her, she gets it now. I never had, a barrier to my education. I went to private school. my fees were always paid. I don't know what that's like, but I did it for Wendy. But now when she does it for kids, and she looks in their eyes and she sees the hopelessness of a kid that can't go to school, she knows what that feels like. And so she does a much better job than I ever did of paying school fees and going to parent meetings and doing all the things that she does. Would you give her a hand? So when we started doing home visits, really the two sides of Key of Hope in South Africa are home visits, which we visit every single kid that's involved at home every week. So in South Africa, we visit about 2,500 kids at home a week, and then in Kenya, about 400. The other side is the program side. So describe the program side.
So the program side, gosh, we have a lot of programs. We have something called Kids Club, which Dan talked about earlier. We bring in every child that we visit at home to Key of Hope, and we do like a Saturday crazy kid time with them, songs, Bible teaching, etc. We also do music programs, which these guys are a part of, have grown up in, but we have a junior choir. Tabile directs the junior choir, that's kids ages 8 to 11. She's amazing at it. We have a senior choir, and that's Asipe. She stole my job, actually. I used to do that, now she does it. We have a dance team, that's Onaziwe here, with the crazy hair. She directs the dance team. So that's some of the programs. We also do after-school education. We actually opened a school on site for children who don't have documentation yet and they can't get into school, they don't have a birth certificate. And so while our Hope Fund department, which is Stembele, and Wendy, they're part of that department, they facilitate getting all of those documents in order while they're waiting, while the children are waiting for those documents. We're schooling them and educating them, and so that's what they do. We have, youth night, we have a program for youth, we have a program for young adults, we have feeding programs. We have a lot of programs, we're doing a lot over there, so we're helping a lot.
One of the common threads that runs through them that all these guys have been a part of is what we call, and it's a common term, but our leadership pipeline. So kids from 10 years old up to 25, and we have well over 100 coming up through that. I remember when Tazile, stand up Tazile, started in our leadership pipeline, she would show up early on Saturdays to Kids Club to help me, because I had a tent, a big tent, and I just set it up on my own, one of these pole tents, and I have to, figure it out how to do it on my own. So kids started realizing that I was coming early, and then would just show up just to hang out. And there got to be so many of them that it wasn't a help. And so I had to make certain kids, every week I would pick like, 6 or 8 kids to be the official helpers, and everyone else had to sit and watch. So you would get picked as an official helper. Now I thought she was coming out of the goodness of her heart to help. But that's not why she was coming. Tell them why you're coming.
So that's nothing.
Go start with just why you were coming.
Oh, I came to find out what was going on with his pinky finger.
So when I was 19, I dunked a basketball and I pulled my pinky finger off. So when I see kids, I can say, oh, look, I can pull my finger off. And they're like, oh, no, I've seen that one. But no, they haven't, because I can pull it off. And sometimes they freak out, whatever, but you were just curious.
Yeah.
You should follow me around. And all that time, I thought she was coming early and following me around to help. But she was just trying to figure out what was wrong with my finger. But you were, how old were you when you first started coming?
11. 10, 11. I think I was 10.
10, 11 years old. Okay, so how old are you now?
I'm 28.
28. How did you start coming? What's the story behind you and I connecting and you coming to Kibo?
Me following the finger.
Because I was specifically asked to come and meet Granny and come to your house.
Yes. When I was younger, at 6 and 7, I lost both of my parents. And I moved to stay with one of my sisters, my mother's sister, who along the way got sick and I had to take care of her. And she passed away as well. And then moved to another aunt, who also same thing happened, got sick and passed away. And finally my older sister dropped out of school and decided to take me and put me in school. school because I was in school. All this while I was going to stay with the aunts, no one had considered putting me in school.
Because at 6, you were pretty much doing the hospice care
Yes.
for these adults as they were getting sick and dying. And at 6, you were cooking, cleaning, she was like doing everything at 6 years old.
And one more thing is that the whole thing about school is that school in South Africa is not free. So you have to, every person has to pay to go to school, so.
Yes. So my sister dropped out of school, found a job, and put me in school with her daughter because she had a daughter. And life for me at that point as a kid was kind of normal. Like I'm going to school with every other kid. Like it was the best. But the trend that has been happening with my aunt happened with my sister as well. She got sick, and for her it was so fast. It was so fast. She got sick, and the following week we were burying her. So at that point for me that was it. Like I didn't know what was going to happen. Like whatever was next, I was afraid of what's coming.
There was no one left for her.
Yeah. So we went after the burial. The family kind of got together, and people were asking, okay, who's gonna take Kazile and the other 2 orphans now? And it was quiet in the house. For some reason, Granny was there. Granny is like the oldest of all her sisters, and she got married and moved. So she's not usually in the family gatherings, but at that day she was there. And in the corner she was like, if there's no one who's gonna take them, I'll take all of them. And luckily she stayed in the same area where my sister lived, so we were able to continue with school. But while getting used to this, my younger niece got a stroke and got paralyzed. The whole of her right hand side did not work. She couldn't speak, she couldn't walk. I mean, a kid that was yesterday was fine. The next day she can't do anything. So Granny had to go and find hospitals, talk to doctors, see if she can get help. And while doing those visits, that's where she met a care for representative who saw what she was going through, trying to figure things out and trying to communicate in English, and saw what she was going through and talked to her and told her, I know someone who can help out. Next week they'll show up, and they showed up.
Oh my.
Yes, showed up. It was for the kids. For me and my nieces, it was unusual seeing a white man at our door, let alone in our community. But with Granny, she's so friendly. She talked to him like she knew him a long time ago. But we were kind of like in the back and we're like so skeptical. But he saw that and came inside the house, made us sit on the couch, and pretended that was putting his pinky finger.
I was trying to break the ice. It was traumatic for some of these kids.
Yes, and like, so while he's busy inviting us to kids club, I'm like, I'm gonna go to kids club because I need to figure out what's going on with the finger. So
That's why he was showing up early.
Yes.
I remember I sat her down, well, a bunch of our official helpers, maybe like 10 or 12 of them, on a bench, because I was already doing leadership development with these 10 and 11-year-olds, because I'm like, someday I'm gonna need staff, and I'm gonna start here. And I was going down the line and saying, okay, what do you wanna be when you grow up? And you get, social worker, teacher, there's always a president, doctor, astronaut, right? So I get to her, she was at the end of the bench, and I get to her, and you have this like stinker look that you can do, like that. She's like, she goes, I want your job. And I was like, this little smart ass. But then I caught myself like, okay, just let that ride for a minute, you know? And, I mean, as time went by, she did want my job in the sense of there was a calling on her life as well. And she now does home visits for hundreds of kids, visits them at home, takes care of them, handles all of our mission teams. So if you come on a mission team, she'll be the one taking care of you. Just does an amazing job. But again, just like Wendy understands the stories of her kids on a level that I never could, and Rachel never could. So she does an amazing job. You wanna say anything, or can I just? You're good. Well, I'm just, because you know what I miss. What I don't say, you're like, hey, what about this one?
No, I think you're good.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I just want to have someone, because like you said, we have a lot of programs.
Yeah.
There's home visits, there's all, we move, all these kind of things, but at the core of it, it's not about all the different things that we do. We do one thing. We do one thing. I know all you guys know what the one thing is. 1, 2, 3.
Long-term discipleship.
Yeah. So Asife, stand up. So, what did that look like for you? Growing up in Durban. First of all, how old were you when you started coming?
Okay, so I started coming when I was 9. I basically followed my older sister. She came once and said, like, this white person, and his kids, and there's Ken. And then the following week, I just followed her.
Yeah.
And how old are you now?
I'm 25. Now I'm 25 years old.
Okay.
And for me, it's more of just a very, I don't know, a very careful, I don't know, for a lot of us, we don't view it just as an organization. To us, it's more like family. I mean, we don't live, it's not like a home where we stay and wada, but how much they've invested in taking care of us, it's I don't know, it's demonstrated in a mother and a father kind of way. And I mean, showing up at a kid's house every Wednesday, you kind of get to know a lot of who they are, their situation, their mom, and the needs that, they've met in our lives. And, I think of them as the hands and feet of Jesus, and being able to, I don't know, being able to love and have a good relationship or understand who Christ is, and in situations we grew up in, is hard to even think of a relationship with God. And when Jesus, says, or when we pray that give us this day our daily bread, they show up and they give us food, and then in our brains it kind of makes sense. When, there's a lot of things that I feel like we've understood because they brought the means, and to us we saw that this is God. I mean, I just think of even love itself, the way these guys have, been there and loved us. I feel like it's for us because in our communities no one did that for us. They were the hands and feet of Christ, and they loved us like Jesus would. I mean, we start young in kids club, and then we grew up, and then we have youth nights. We grew up, and then we have M&Ms, and these people pay school fees. They pay uniform. They feed us. They, and just love you. And I think of Rachel. I mean, even family, the things that they being in a restaurant and how to order food. no one teaches you that. And good manners, yes, please, no, thank you. And for me, it all comes down to, I don't know, that love and relationship that they built with us. And to me, it demonstrates and showed me a lot of who God is and helped me with my journey with Christ.
You could see that. If you could see this girl on a Saturday, the number of one-on-ones that she has, I have, you'll maybe there's photos, but how many photos is her with a kid like this close, talking to a kid, and she bounced from kid, and she knows every story, every situation, and what they're struggling with, and one walks by and looks like they're not okay, and she'll grab them. I mean, the love that overflows from this girl is like supernatural and infinite. She just has that to give. And again, it's them reaching back to the next generation and overflowing into them what's been poured into their life. Asipe actually was featured in our very first music video, I think before we ever did a tour. We did this music video, and she's kind of grown to hate this song because like she can't escape her connection with this song, but it's just this is amazing, this song. So I want to show, I think Trent's got it queued up. I want to show this music video. You'll see some of the other faces too of when these guys were young. This was made in 2013.
2013.
So
yeah.
12 years ago.
Yes, featuring Asipe. And I mean, all of these guys now have their own home visit areas. They're all visiting 150, 200 children every week. Every week. They all have grown up in this, have been on past tours through the choir. So right after this, they're going to do a song. So you can kind of see the before and the now, okay? And the evolution of...
Some of you might have seen this one. Mike sent this,
Yeah.
and our kids used to sing this when they were really little.
Did you join them?
Lenny in her preschool class trying to sing like in not English, like her own version of this song. I'll never forget it. We listened to it in our car on repeat when they were really, really little. That's old favorite. Yeah.
If you Google Africa, you won't see our village. This is the day in the life for one of us. We have to walk far to get water. We have to cook for ourselves. We do our own laundry. That is common here. We bury our friends, our neighbors, and sometimes our parents. Most of the time, we aren't able to grieve because life just moves on. There never seemed to be any hope down the road until someone told us that our voices could be heard, that our voices mattered, that it was in our voices that we carry the sound of hope. When you think of Africa, remember us.
So a couple familiar faces in our, Leandro, who was in that video, raise your hand. Three of you guys. Saw somebody's face. So as you guys kind of, I don't know what you're gonna do to get in place, but.
Just do it, yeah, they know what
You're
to do.
going, are you pianoing?
Not yet, no, this is Zoom.
Oh, this is Zoom. So from that very first, dinner at my mom and dad's, until now, we've been trying to rescue these kids. And it's not just feeding and school fees and music and education, all that kind of stuff. Like Asipe said, it's a family, it's a home, it's long-term discipleship, it's a lifelong parenting, mentoring concept and vision that God's given us. And it's to the point now where I'm not asking people to invest in my vision. I'm asking people to invest in what these young people are doing and what God's called them to do. And I've seen enough now over there that it doesn't bother me to ask people for money anymore. At that first one, it was like, it's kind of weird, awkward, and all that, but I've visited enough kids in the hospital who never came out. I've done enough kids' funerals. I've visited enough kids that are in a child-headed household, living alone, with no food, no parents, no nothing. I've got enough shirts that were stained with the tears of kids that were hopeless. I've looked out like you guys do over a tent that we have, because we completely outgrew our hall, a tent full of 500 or 1,500 kids that we'll have on every Saturday, who are just there looking for some kind of hope, some kind of signal that, does anyone even know I exist? And 18 years of that has helped me to come back here and not be ashamed at all to ask people to give what you have sacrificially. Asipe mentioned about, as we prayed over the meal, Mike led us in the Lord's Prayer over the meal, which says, "Give us this day our daily bread." And as a fellow American, it's dawned on me since living in South Africa, we ought to be careful when we pray that prayer. Because if God were to answer that, if God were really to give you your daily bread, a bunch of the food in your house would just disappear. That's, for you and I, that's actually a prayer for subtraction. Because we have so much more than our daily bread. So when we pray that, we're actually praying for God to take something away from us. And one way to do that is to give it to someone else that needs it. So we're here. These guys have traveled halfway around the world because of the kids they now visit. And the ones that, as much as they leaned on Rachel and I, there are now dozens and hundreds of kids that lean on them and depend on them and look to them for hope. And they came here on a mission to be able to hopefully go back to South Africa and say, we can help you, we can feed you, we can be the hands and feet of Jesus to you, because we come back from the United States of America with resources to show that there is a Heavenly Father. That prayer that you've been praying, He heard it. And He sent us to bring the answer. So,
as they do a couple songs, I want you to, I know we all think about year end, and I'm sure you have a financial plan, and you're thinking about taxes and what's deductible and how much you can give and all that. And that's good, we need to do that. You know, part of the reason that you're in the position you are financially is because you think about it and you plan. But I do believe that there are times when you throw the plan out the window. I don't have another house to sell. I sold it. I'm telling you this, if I had one, I'd sell it today. Because there are thousands and thousands of kids that are just outside of our reach. It's like this close. And as far as we reach with the resources that we have, there are kids that are just outside of it. When I do some of the home visits, I can look to the next community and I can see the kids there. And we can't afford to reach them yet. But hopefully what we're doing here and what you guys will do tonight will help us to reach out a little bit farther. So I hope you'll help us do that tonight. Before you leave, Trent here, who's been the merch, the swag guy, he's got envelopes for checks. He's got a credit card reader. We'll take crypto. We'll take stocks.
I don't know how to do that. But we will get it done.
We'll take whatever you got, because there are kids who are, as we speak, praying for that daily bread. So I'm going to turn it over to Tabile. What was your Zulu word? Oh, truth. Yes, okay, good. So you're going to lead us in a Zulu